Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
So I know when I say divine devotion, I'm sure the first person that comes to mind for all of you is Kobe Bryant. Yeah? So for those of you who don't know, Kobe Bryant was a professional NBA basketball player. He retired in 2016, and sadly in 2020, he and his daughter and some others were killed in a helicopter crash. Now, I'm not a huge sports person, but having a son who is, I find myself watching a lot of sports videos. And what's interested me about listening to, and Julian loves Kobe Bryant, and I've been listening to these videos, and I'm like, he's Yoda. He's this incredible master. I'm just, wow, he's an amazing dude. And so there's a story, there's a lot of stories, but one of the stories is he was on the Olympic team. The Olympic team, the basketball team, had lost the last Olympics, so they got the best basketball players because they really wanted to win the gold this year, whatever year that was. And so they all got together in Las Vegas, had a little basketball practice, and then they went out into Las Vegas to look around, hang out. But Kobe was nowhere to be found. So then they got up around 7 to go to basketball practice, and they're still like, where's Kobe? Kobe had been practicing in the gym since 4. So he'd already had 3 hours of practice by the time they're just showing up. And this is with the best of the best already. The way Kobe describes it is, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with basketball. I love the game. So I want to talk about divine devotion in that terms, but to be very clear, there's healthy obsession and unhealthy obsession. So I want to just get that out of the way at the beginning. Unhealthy obsession is when you are obsessed with something that is either not giving you anything back, you're not getting any return, so you just get more and more depleted, and you're so obsessed because you're just so convinced you're going to get something from this thing, so you're thinking about it and thinking about it, hoping that you'll get something. Or you're obsessed with something or someone who's not good for you and uses your obsession to manipulate you. That's also unhealthy obsession. So there's a lot of obsession that can be unhealthy, and so that's something to be conscious of. So the big takeaway from today's talk is, does whatever I'm devoted to, whatever I'm obsessed with, does it bring me more alive? The healthy obsession, the healthy devotion makes me more me, makes me more fully alive, and it never ends. When he retired from basketball, he wasn't done with basketball. It was just changing form. He was obsessed with the game, and that was going to last his whole life. And we can see that with people who are obsessed or devoted to many different things. They continue on, professional athletes who then become high school coaches or coaches for their kids. They're still in the sport because they love it so much. So we're talking about the life divine this year. And so for January, as you know, we did the 4 spiritual practices. I did them out of order, but generally it's spirit, heart, body, mind. And to really anchor ourselves in the practices. The reason why I started there is because we can have the best ideas in the world, but until we're actually practicing it and living it, it's like it's not even real. We started this class with Thomas Troward on Tuesday nights. And Thomas Troward was a lawyer, a judge, a lot of time actually in India. And he got all these ideas, and so when he retired, he started writing these books about principles and how they work. But he's a lawyer. So he writes very long, complicated sentences, and he often repeats himself, because a lot of times repetition, so he's coming at it from different, analytical people tend to look at things from a lot of different angles, but basically saying the same thing. So sometimes he can be hard to read. And when I'm reading him, I'm speaking only from my own personal experience, I'll just get these like, oh, that's so cool, I get that. Like he went step by step by step, ding, oh, I get it. how everything in time, and the wholeness is in every moment of time and space, because time and space is secondary, doesn't exist, and how he explains all that. And then in this book that we're reading, Harmony, if what we're creating isn't coming from first cause, isn't coming from that highest divine idea, it's not harmonious with everything else. And so therefore, if we're creating something just for my own egoic desire, and I'm not thinking about what's the highest and best for everybody, that egoic desire that I'm fulfilling might actually be destructive or hurtful. And so oftentimes when we're doing our work, we'll say, the highest and best for all. I don't know if you've heard that before. Ernest Holmes, if you read Ernest Holmes, he says it all the time. What I want for myself, I want for everybody. That is so core to these spiritual principles. It can't just be, I can't tell you how many times Ernest Holmes says it. It can't just be for some people. If it works for everybody, and it's for everybody's highest good. So this law of harmony, Talmud Shores was talking about harmony. The law that at the highest level, it is harmonious. And if it's not harmonious with the entire world, then there's something out of integrity. He talks about no past precedent, that at the divine is never limited by anything that's happened in the past. So a brand new idea can come. That's where I'm like, oh, that's where new thought comes, no past precedent. He explains that. He explains all these different wonderful things. And so I came out of class on Tuesday, and it was a great discussion. I really love what people get from it, and they're sharing. But there felt like there was something missing for me. And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about other times I've read Thomas Shore. Same thing. I'll get really excited about an idea and go, that's so cool, and I can repeat it, and I can tell you what it is. But then it ends there. Like, oh, well, okay, so I really like this idea of harmony. How am I practicing it? Like, that next step. And Ernest Holmes was really influenced by Thomas Shore, and I think the gift that Ernest Holmes brought was to get excited by the ideas, and then he came along and said, okay, now here's how you make it practical in your everyday life. Like, here's how you live it. Because if you don't make that step on how to live it, it's just a really cool idea that you can share with your friends. This is a really cool idea, but if you're not doing anything with it. So that's why in January we started with the practices. Because the practices, without the practice, everything is just ideas floating around. We have to ground it. We have to ground our spiritual life in practice. Spirit, heart, mind, body. One of the things Kobe Bryant kept talking about is, he said he was a good athlete, but he wasn't always the best athlete. So he said, I worked on what all the other kids were, especially when they were young, were relying on their natural athletic ability. But since I was never the superstar, I just relied on the fundamentals. And I just did the fundamentals over and over and over again. And you see this with all athletes. I think of Steph Curry, I have to remember to talk about Bay Area teams. Steph Curry shooting the baskets. I just saw George. I'm like, I will talk about the Golden State Warriors. I'll read up on them for next week. Oh no, next week's Super Bowl. Anyway. But just shooting like basket after basket. He's a superstar. He's won NBA championships, but he's still out there early in the morning doing the fundamentals. As spiritual beings, we have to continue to do these practices. Roger Walsh, who's a transpersonal psychologist, did this research, and he found that as spiritual beings who were teachers and had been teachers for a long time, had followings, as they got older, if they stopped doing their spiritual practices because there's a sense of, oh, I have spiritual mastery now, that spiritual attainment starts to regress. Everybody needs to keep doing their spiritual practices until the day you die. I don't remember his name. I was watching another video of a guy who plays cello. He was a professional cello player. He was retired, and he was still playing cello 6 hours a day when he was in his 90s. And they said, why are you still playing the cello 6 hours a day when you're not performing? He's like, well, I still think I might learn something. It's like I have constant growth. It's never ending. But all of that can seem tedious, exhausting, if you're not obsessed. So the question we need to ask ourselves is that's devotion. To what are we devoted? To what are you devoted that you just want to do it because you have to? Because Even if everything else is taken away, you're going to do it. I remember my dad, who was obsessed with World War II. I shouldn't say obsessed, but because he was a 12-year-old boy, so it takes up a lot of his thoughts, or did. And I remember he loved this movie called Paradise Road. I don't know if anyone heard it. It was with Glenn Close, and it was in the concentration camp, and they found these many people who were musicians and singers, and they created this beautiful choir. And the movie is about the choir, and it literally, this is a true story, and just the beautiful music. Nothing can stop you. When you know what brings you alive, nothing can stop you from living it, not because you have to, but because you want to, because it's your heart, body, mind, and soul. So spiritually, what does that look like? What does devotion and obsession look like spiritually? Well, we're teaching about oneness. And so I always have I've never been able to get rid of my I, thou, talking to God thing. But we're about oneness. And so there was a period of time where I was really anchored in I am. That's it. So first I was doing like qualities. Love is I am, peace is I am. And then I just went to I am. And that's all I did. I just said I am. And it's so easy. It goes easy with a breath, one syllable, I am. 20, and I was trying to do it 24 hours, 7 days a week. So no matter what I was doing, I remember listening. I can still remember the things that I was doing while I was doing this practice, I am. Now, every one of us here is the I am. So you can do this. And I believe if you try, even if it's just like meditation, you forget and then you bring your attention back. But if you do this for 1 month, I am, with your breath, as much as you can, 24 hours a day, as much as you can. If you wake up in the middle of the night, I am. Just continue, I am. You're going to start having expanded states of consciousness because you are tapping into a truth of the universe, the I amness of the universe. I love when there's cross-cultural understandings. Ramana Maharshi, when they asked him about the total truth, and he said it's the I am, he said it's exactly what was revealed to Moses. I am that I am. He said that's the absolute truth. And so we love that in our teaching, where we see the truth showing up in all the different religious traditions. I am. So I was doing this I am, I was doing it, and I was having experiences. I was having experience when I was running. I was having experience when I was at home, just reading, just things, dreaming. It really impacted me. And this is quite a long time I did this for, over 1 or 2 years, a couple of years. But I started to notice something for me, is I felt a little bit lonely for myself. The I am is so vast, and the experiences I was having was in this vastness of the I am, but I felt like I was still losing me, like I didn't know who I was, Harriet, the specific uniqueness. We always talk about we're a unique expression of the one, and I was missing that. I was like, okay, I'm in this I amness, but who's Harriet? And it felt, even though it's everything, I still felt disconnected from it. So that is when I very intentionally and consciously shifted and got very specific about devotion. That for me, the spirit, heart, mind, and body is my act of devotion to the divine. So we're all divine, but we also have this human self. And it was an honoring of my human self, my mind, my intellect, my emotions, my physicality, given to the spirituality, and suddenly it felt actually more one. For me, it felt more inclusive because now it really included me. Spirit, heart, mind, body. But it came from devotion. When we are devoted to something bigger than ourselves, but we are devoting our whole self, our human self, to it, we become more who we are. We heard that in the reading today with Ram Dass, who was talking about Maharaji, and he was saying, as he got closer to leaving his body, to death, that he was going deeper and deeper into his oneness with names are so close, Maharaji, Maharaji died in the early 1970s. This is in the 2000s that Ram Dass is talking about. So he's communing with him not physically in person, but spiritually. And it just goes deeper and deeper. So he's becoming more who he is by loving something other than himself. Isn't that like the beautiful paradox? We become more who we are than loving something other than just like I love me, can be very constricting and very limiting. Loving something more than me, but including all of me. So the question over and over is, to what are you devoted? What it looks like is a Kobe Bryant. You know, one interviewer asked him, they said, are you a person who plays because you just don't want to fail, so you really want to win? Or what motivates you is you just really want to win, you don't care about the losing, you're just focused on the winning? And he said, neither. He said, I'm not that interested in either one of them. They both give me good information. What I love is the game of basketball. And as long as I'm playing and learning, and winning gives me information and losing gives me information, but what I love is basketball. He goes, I love the smell of the ball. I love my sneakers and the sound it makes on the gym. Like everything about it, tactile, physically, on every level, I am in love with basketball. I think about it. I study it. I read about it. I watch people. I learn from everybody. I am obsessed with the game of basketball, and me winning and losing is just a part of something much bigger. And I'm like, this guy is a Zen master. What if we looked at our spiritual life that way? It's not like it's good or bad. It's not whether we're succeeding or failing, but we're so in love with God, whatever that is for us, we're so in love with it that you just keep giving and you learn. When things go well, yay. When things go bad, I'm learning things. He did admit that it sucks when you lose, but you're still learning. It's not like, oh, well, I shouldn't be playing basketball anymore. Oh, I shouldn't be on the spiritual life. I just stink at it. I go to meditate and I'm just blah, 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 blah. I have monkey mind the whole time, and I've been doing it for years. You just keep going because you're in love, and you keep learning. I think about it with Jack and music. He teaches during the week, over 400 kids every week. He does his private lessons. He has gigs on the weekend. He comes here every Sunday. He's watching documentaries. All his books are about music. His magazines are about music. All he talks about with his friends is music. He's obsessed. He loves God. He does his spiritual practices every day. It's not either or, but all those spiritual practices feed the passion of music. And he becomes more and more himself. I was listening to him the other day. He was like doing a video. He was learning new things on the guitar he's never done before. He's always learning, always growing. Friday night, he did not have a gig. I'm sitting at the table doing work. I get my own concert. He sat there for 2 hours just playing song after song, singing away to nobody, playing and singing, not for money, not to get people clapping, because he loves it. What do you love so much that it does not matter what else is happening, you are sure that you are going to do it because you have to? I love Reverend Michael's talk. It's not discipline, it's blissipin, because it brings you so much. It gives back to you. It gives back to you. So whatever you're devoted to, is it giving back to you? Are you becoming more alive because of your devotion? Are you becoming more who you are because of your devotion? To what are you devoted? And you know by what you're consumed by. And if you're not currently consumed by any one thing other than something maybe a little, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't want to do that anymore, I want to change that, that's not life-giving. We were mentioning in our meeting yesterday, Ernest Holmes, and there's someone else who said it, but the phrase, Mother Teresa, what are you for? Be for something and against nothing. The energy comes from when you're for something, when you're saying, this is what I'm about. That's passion, this obsession. If most of what you're consuming with during the days, I shouldn't be doing this, or I should have done, I had these things and I didn't get this done, and you're just sort of beating yourself up, that is something you do not want to be devoted to. That is not something you want to be obsessed by. You do not want to be obsessed by perfection, because if you finally get it perfect, now you're going to be loved, or you're going to get what you want. Kobe Bryant said he was going for perfection, but he wasn't going to it for self-esteem, to get something personally. It's because he wanted to give everything he had, the best of everything he had to it, to achieve his own highest level, for the joy of it. If you're not getting joy from what you're obsessing about, that's unhealthy obsession. So what are you devoted? And it's like your superpower. To what you're devoted is your superpower. You know, sometimes people ask me sometimes, so I wear I have a little cross on my wrist, and I wear a cross, and people wonder about that. If I'm universal, why am I wearing a cross? Because that has a very specific meaning to me personally, to which I am devoted to, heart, body, mind, and soul. That Christ presence. But that Christ presence was a direct experience. So it came, as you know, when I was a child, because I adored my family, worshiped them, but I wasn't like them. The experience didn't say, now you're like them. It was saying, even just as you are, even though you're never going to be like them, I still love you. And that love was so powerful. I can't emphasize enough how shy I was as a kid. I didn't talk at my own family dinner table. We'd all be sitting there. I wouldn't say a word. Every night, as quiet as a mouse. They called me an ostrich. They would do jokes, like they would all look at me at the same time, and I would hide because I couldn't handle my own family looking at me. I was a scared, frightened, timid child. And I say that because as frightened as I was, as shy as I was, when I had that spiritual experience, there became an authority that I had that nobody, not even my family, as much as I worshiped them, could touch. They were never going to impact my love of Christ. I couldn't find a mirror of it, so I was looking around at my church, and I'm like, they don't get it. So my mom said, why don't you go to another church and try them? So I went to another church, and we went to Bible study, and they were reading something, the gospel. I'm thinking it's Luke, because I was just been reading Luke, and Jesus is pretty angry in that one. But I remember listening to him, I'm like, that is not my Jesus. He's too mean. My Jesus is nothing but love. I'm a shy, quiet girl, but I knew, and no, I don't care who, ministers, youth groups, Bible. I closed the Bible. I was like, okay, he said worship me in spirit. That's what my journey is. So I have no authority. My life in Christ, I have no church authority. I have no Bible authority. I mean, I learn about it, but I don't have any authority to say, I don't have the right to say that I love Christ. I don't have anyone backing me up, but I have that thing to which I am devoted, heart, body, mind, and soul, because I know I am loved, and I will die for that love. I will do everything I can, and I give myself to it because it gives me so much back. And in fact, I feel if I didn't have that incredible mind, heart, body, soul, total commitment, I wouldn't be alive. And I don't mean physical death. I mean, that's what brings me alive. That's what feeds me. That's what obsesses me. I had 3 events yesterday, all external, taking up most of the day. But the whole time I'm thinking, how am I going to get my spiritual practices done? How am I going to get home and do my spirit, mind, heart, and body before I go to bed tonight? Not because I have to, not because I'm going to get in trouble. And there's no, who's going to get me in trouble? I'm not going to get in trouble because I love it, because it's my passion. What brings you alive? Howard Thurman says, find what brings you alive and do that. The world needs people who are alive. We have so much going on in this country right now. It's impacting everybody. No matter how you perceive it and value it, because I know we're all different and I cherish our differences, but it's impacting all of us. And what do we do? I'm getting a lot of, what do we do? I don't have the answers. The only thing I know is do what you're devoted to, because that's why you're here. You are here to become alive as you. And nobody ever can stop you. Nobody. I don't care how powerful they are, or how smart they are, or how strong they are, how brilliant, or how they're experts on religion, or that's for me. No, it doesn't matter. Nobody will sway you from being you when you know who you are and what brings you alive, and you will not stop being who you are no matter what, because you have to. It's life itself. That is our call every day, and I think today more than ever, when we have so much change swirling around us, and we're not sure where it's all leading and where it's all going, the one thing we do know is that we are made in the image and likeness of God, and we came onto this earth to be alive. Yeah? Huh. So this week, I invite all of you just to get really, really clear from your gut on up what brings you alive, because that's who you were meant to be. That's why you are here today on this planet at this time in this space, is to be you, to be fully alive. Let's pray. I'm alive. And the beauty of this aliveness is that it's already there. We don't have to stretch to find it. We were born with it. We hear Ram Dass's words of wisdom after his stroke, that he became less interested in the things, the materiality of the world, and became very interested in what brought him alive inside of him. Because that devotion, that obsession, that's inside of us. It gets mirrored externally, but it's inside of us. The kingdom, queendom of heaven is within us. So I want you to feel the power, the infinite power of good that is your devotion. The infinite power of love that is your devotion. The infinite power of life that is your devotion. The infinite power of joy that is your devotion. The infinite power of harmony that is your devotion. There is no one in this universe that is like you. No one. You are it. You have the call. Each and every one of us have the call. Some of us are already fully on our path. We know what our call is, and we celebrate that, and we just continue to celebrate and go participate in it deeper and deeper and practice and get inspired by others. And some of us are just beginning and discovering what is that call and who am I to be in that call. But it's not out there. That discovery is inside. That aliveness is inside. It is waiting to be discovered and nurtured every single day. Nurtured every single day out of joy, out of passion, out of obsession that gives back to us more than we could ever give to it. Be obsessed, healthily obsessed. Be devoted. Be alive. This is who we are. This is who we already are, and how grateful I am that every day we are becoming more and more alive as light and joy and peace. And from this place, we know that we are participants in bringing this entire earth back into harmony with the Divine One. And so in harmony, in the fulfillment of our aliveness, I just say thank you. Thank you, God. And we release this word into the law of life, knowing as this claim of aliveness and harmony and obsession has been fulfilled, as all of us. In joy, I let it be, and I invite you all to join me now in saying, and so it is. Amen and amen.
I walk in God in all